So last week we received data that showed the number of people filing for mortgage forbearance is actually going down. But at the same time, I'm having a lot of people reach out to me on videos that I've done over the last couple of weeks to months to ask me questions about starting the forbearance process. So what are your rights with regards to mortgage forbearance and foreclosure protection under the CARES Act? Well, that's what we're going to discuss today. My name is Jeb Smith. I'm a real estate broker here in Southern California, and my goal here is to provide information to guide you through that process. Now, this document that we're going to discuss today is called the Consumer Relief Guide. It was put out by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and it discusses everything from starting the forbearance process to credit protection to a question that I recently received, and that is, can I file for forbearance if I just refinanced? Which is a really good question. So we're going to go over that today. What are your rights? What protections do you have under the CARES Act? I took some time to highlight, the items that I thought were helpful in the document. But what I'll do is I'll put a link to that document below so you can download it for future use if you need it, along with some links to scripts that your lender, your servicer should be using with you if you're calling to have that conversation. But before we get into that, I want to ask a favor. If you're new to my channel and you like all things real estate related, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. My goal here, again, is to help guide you through whether it's the forbearance process, buying a home, selling a home, or just keeping you up to date on everything real estate related. So thank you for taking the time to watch, and thank you for the support. Okay, so here's the document that I mentioned, Consumer Relief Guide, Your Rights to Mortgage Payment Forbearance and Foreclosure Protection under the Federal CARES Act. Again, I highlighted the document. I'm not going to go word for word through it. I'm going to talk about the information that I thought was most helpful. But again, the link is below if you want to download it for, to completely read the document. So it starts by saying you have the right to obtain a 180-degree pause in paying your mortgage or temporarily lower mortgage payments if you are a borrower on a federally backed mortgage loan, and affirm that you are experiencing a financial hardship due directly or indirectly to COVID. So if you've been affected in any way, your income has gone down, you've lost your job, you've been furloughed, anything that has affected your income or your ability to make a payment says that you qualify for mortgage forbearance. Now, keep in mind, forbearance is a temporary reduction or suspension of your monthly payment to help you through a difficult period. You will need to repay any missed or reduced payments in the future through one of numerous options. And I talk about those options a little bit later in the video. Now, it does say while in forbearance, you can still choose to make partial payments, which reduce the amount you would need to repay in the future. So if you're able to make payments, they suggest doing it. Now, the deferral option is one of those options that allows you to take those missed payments and add them to the back of the loan, which I explained in a little bit more detail again at the latter part of the video. So in most cases, you should receive multiple options to repay the monthly payments that were not paid during forbearance over time. There are no fees associated with obtaining forbearance. Be wary of anyone offering to help you with forbearance for a fee. You should never hire an attorney. You should never hire anyone to get this done for you. This is something you have a right to forbearance, to foreclosure protection, to eviction protection, that you don't need to hire someone to do this on your behalf. Now, understand that it may be difficult. It may be a lot of follow-up. It may be time consuming, but you don't need to pay someone to do it. These are your rights. They can't do anything that you can't do. So go on here. Eligible loan types. We've talked about this before. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, USDA loans, right? These are all different types of loans. They all qualify for mortgage forbearance under the CARES Act. Now, I will put these links in the description below to look up your loan type to find out if it is one of these. Goes on down here. You are not required to submit documentation to prove your financial hardship to enter a forbearance under the CARES Act. You are eligible regardless of delinquency status. So it does not matter if you are delinquent at the time of application or were delinquent before March 13th. If you were delinquent, you're delinquent now, you can still request forbearance. So if it's something you need, make sure you're taking advantage of it so you're not filing for foreclosure in the future because you didn't take advantage of this. Now, for me, as I mentioned, forbearance is a last resort, right? It's not something you should do if you can make your payments. It should be something you do only if you can't make your payments. Under the new law, forbearance shall be granted for up to 180 days at your request and shall be extended for an additional 180 days at your request. Remember to make the second 180-day request before the end of the first forbearance period. So they need to be consecutive, right behind each other, and you need to do it before one expires. You will not accrue fees, penalties, or interest beyond the amounts already scheduled or calculated based on the terms of your mortgage. At the end of your forbearance period, you and your servicer will determine how you repay any missed payments or deficiencies related to reduced payments, especially in your escrow account. They'll establish a repayment plan, extending the term of your loan for some amount of time to pay back the missed payments. So a repayment plan is one option. Extending the term of your loan is another option. Any loan modification after your forbearance term will likely require your servicer to document your income and expenses to ensure you qualify for a modification program. As it mentioned here, your lender should give you different options with regards to repaying the missed payments with regards to your mortgage forbearance, whether it's that repayment option mentioned here, a loan modification, or even that deferral option. And it doesn't mention the deferral option directly in here, but I've done a video, which I'll link above here in the corner, that describes that process in a little bit more detail. But essentially what it does is it allows you to take those missed payments and add them to the back of your loan and just pick up where you left off. So if your mortgage payment was $2,000 a month, you missed 12 payments hypothetically because you took a year of forbearance. They take those 12 months, they add them to the back of your loan. Your 30-year loan doesn't become a 31-year loan. They just add it to the back of the loan, and your payments start back at that $2,000 a month, assuming you can continue to make those payments. Now, that's a conversation you're going to have with your lender when discussing different payment options, but deferral is definitely the best option and the one I would shoot for when having that conversation. Now, earlier in the video, I mentioned the question of, can you file for mortgage forbearance if you recently refinanced? Well, this document explains that. Mortgage lenders are currently requiring new borrowers to sign COVID attestations confirming that income has not changed and that they are not aware of future changes in employment or the need to request forbearance. Lenders may also inform you that your loan is not immediately federally backed and therefore does not qualify for CARES Act forbearance. These attestations do not limit your rights under the CARES Act as described above. However, it may be true that your loan is not immediately federally backed and therefore will not qualify under the CARES Act until it becomes federally backed, which can take days or in some cases weeks. So to answer the question, yes, you can file for forbearance after you've refinanced or purchased a home, but you need to make sure your loan is federally backed. Now, this does not mean that you cannot request forbearance information, and many lenders and servicers are providing forbearance benefits regardless of federally backed status. So even if your loan is not federally backed, chances are they're going to work with you. But understand that the rights that we're talking about in this document are for federally backed loans only, right? They don't have to extend all those payment options. They don't have to provide the 1 year if it's not federally backed, right? But chances are they're going to work with you in some form or fashion. Credit protection, we've talked about this before. During the period covered by the CARES Act requires your mortgage servicer to report your account as current if your account was current at the time of the forbearance and if you meet the terms of your mortgage relief, or if your account was delinquent before the COVID-19 emergency, to maintain the same delinquent status. So if you were delinquent before, your credit report is going to show you're delinquent now. If you were current before and you went into forbearance, it should show you're current now. Although it might show that you're in forbearance on your credit report, which could affect your score. We've had some people reach out and say that it has, while others say that their credit score is the same. As you can see, we just went over a lot of information that talked about different steps in the process. And I've had a lot of people reach out that have federally backed mortgages that aren't getting the same answers across the board to these questions. That some people are saying they only have a 90-day forbearance period when they should be offered 180 days up front. Just know your rights. Document the information as it mentioned in this document. Make sure you're keeping track of your conversation, and make sure that, again, that you stick to your guns when having that conversation. If you're not getting the answers that you want, ask to speak to someone else. Continue to go up that chain, and put these people on blast, if you will, because, again, as I've mentioned in several videos in the past, a lot of people answering the phone are new to the company. They don't really know what they should be offering. They don't know your rights. In fact, if you're reading this document, you probably know your rights better than the people answering the phone. So make sure you're sticking, to this document, provide them with it if they need it, but keep track of your conversations, keep communication open, continue to call until you get the answers that you need, and make sure whatever they promise you, you're getting in writing, because you want to be protected at the end of the day. So again, if you have questions on this, questions about what I mentioned here, you want me to do a video or update you on something that I mentioned in here, comment below. I'll do my best to get back to you. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. As I mentioned earlier, I appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you again very soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.